Welcome back to the 12 Talk podcast with me, Josh, and Mitch. We've got a very special guest for you today in Rob Staton. He's literally just finished a live and hopped straight on here, so I can't tell you how appreciative he is. We'll bring him on in 1 second. If you're hopping on here because you've just hopped on Rob's, by all means, feel free to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that stuff. And you can even join our Discord, the link for which will be in the comments and it's in the description below. Mitch, I just want to get Rob in because we've got so much to talk about.
Right. Yeah, I'm second favourite, mate. Yeah, just do it.
That's all right. Let's bring you in. Rob, it's non-stop for you today, mate. Thanks so much for sparing some time.
Yeah, well, look, it's a crazy time. I don't think any of us expected necessarily Seattle to be in the NFC Championship Game. So we've got to kind of fit as much as we can in at this time and then hope that it lasts another 2 weeks after this.
That's very, very much where, I mean, I think I was on Across the Pod last week. I'm going back on there this week with Andy Davies because Seattle won. And then I've been asked to go on the Huddle UK as well this week. So it's a constant. And yeah, I mean, obviously you've got your show with Bump and Stace as well. And then you've got the Puck Sports one.
Yeah.
You kind of have to lend
collective and all of that. The thing is, though, is when in the evenings, I don't watch much TV, to be honest. Like, I'm not a big TV person. I do like films, and I'll go and watch. Like when the season's finished, like I couldn't do it now. I couldn't concentrate during a film right now. But when the season's finished, and I've kind of had a chance, whenever that's finished, and I've either celebrated or got over what I need to get over. There will come a time when I will just go and watch a lot of films, but I can't watch
horror movie marathon.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. But at the minute, the only thing I can think of is the game. So there's always that kind of temptation to write something or jump on a stream and talk about the Seahawks. Like I'm looking at my notes here on the draft. That's been the thing that's kind of got me through the periods when I didn't want to think about the game. I've just studied more and more. Like I'm looking at, I've got this document open. It's 8,200 words of scouting notes I've done in the last 3 days alone. So like I'm not sleeping. I'm trying to find things to keep off, my mind in a decent place. But if they win on Sunday and they can get to the Super Bowl, I think I'll probably relax a little bit then.
Yeah, I think that's the way. I mean, Mitch, if that's what Rob's doing for his draft guide, you need to up your game, son. There you go.
I don't disagree. Mine's less words. I just put pictures in at this point. I've got to try and do something different to Rob. But yeah, it's there's a lot to write on this draft class. It's not the most deep, and it feels like it's not all that top heavy either, but there are starting players and scheme fits all the way through it, I think, for the Seahawks. The more I look through it, the more I think that there's some projects in there. And we've done really well with players like Drake Thomas and Ty Carter, taking players and getting our coaches to work with them. So I kind of am excited to see what we unearth in this draft. So it's made me want to look really deep in this one.
I'm going to put a pin in that because I know you two will probably nerd out about the draft if we carry on, because I want to talk about that absolute demolition job on Saturday night, Sunday morning for us. It was so unprecedented, and I know I said on Across the Pod that I thought it was going to be 31-13, and I got laughed at for such a high score. I honestly, did anyone see that type of scoreline coming?
I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I honestly didn't know. Like, if you'd have said the Seahawks are going to blow them out, like I would have said, well, they should have blown them out in week 18. Like that could have been 30 points to 3 then. So the idea of just sort of writing a few mistakes from that game and actually putting the points on the board for it to be a blowout would not have been a huge surprise. But I spent all week worrying about the game. Like I don't know why. Like there was no real reason to worry about it. Like I suppose you could say with hindsight, but I was just so eager for them not to mess this up that I kind of talked myself into the idea that it could be close. And then there were 1 or 2 people predicting that the Niners were going to win. And then you start to second guess and you get to the idea that it could go either way. And then they score the opening kickoff for a touchdown and you think, really, is there anything to worry about? I don't know. But then even at 17-3, I was stressing a little bit. Like, they were driving with the football. I'm thinking, if they score here, it's a 1-score game. And yet at half time, I'm thinking, well, that was bloody stupid. It's 24. And at that point, that's when I finally kind of just went, oh, like, they're going to win this game. Like, this 18-point lead at halftime. They're not blowing this. So I didn't know what to expect. I'm so glad that they won the game. It's just a relief. I don't feel like I've relaxed as much yet, and maybe that will happen tonight when I collapse in bed. Yeah, it was a beautiful game to watch.
I think it feels. Yeah, I think it just feels like a trap game, doesn't it? With all the injuries, we beat the last game we played. We beat them, comfortably, and shutting them out and keeping them to 3 points and 2 red zone visits. It feels like we should feel really comfortable. And then you think that would be the most Seahawky thing to do: lose against them when it matters, and it just makes it feel like a bit of a trap. But then, like you say, we scored more points on our first touch of the ball than they did in the entire next 4 quarters. So if you can do that, and you've got the defense that we've built now and coached, I just don't think you have to worry too much.
Yeah, it was. I was the same as you, Rob. I was so apprehensive about this game because as much as I as a fan have confidence, I have confidence in what Mike Macdonald's built, and I think we've all addressed this on our pods, that the culture has changed, the confidence in this team has changed, the whole ethos around it, the fans' viewpoint has changed. But I couldn't help but have that thing in the back of my mind constantly niggling that the 49ers could do something here because of that rivalry that's been sparked, because they're dragging players in off the street, as Trent Williams said, to win the game. There could be a moment of magic. There could be some wide receiver we've never heard of who has a monster game. But as it turns out, we scored, as Mitch said, more points than they did the whole game with our first touch of the ball. And Brock Purdy was running for his life all game. And to his credit, he ran for his life quite effectively at times when he was staring right down the barrel of a gun.
Yeah, I think the thing that worried me a little bit was I did sort of think about the times where teams had become the number 1 seed and then had blown it. Like the Titans were a recent example of that, and the Detroit Lions won 15 games last year and didn't get to the NFC Championship game. So I was dwelling on that a little bit too much than I should have done. And then the other thing was that if you remember in 2020, I know it's a few years ago, different coaching staff, different players, everything to do with that. But the Seahawks beat the Rams in the regular season and won the NFC West right at the end of the season. And that was a big celebration moment. And, Jamal Adams had a cigar at the podium and stuff like that. And then a couple of weeks later, they played each other in the playoffs. And John Wolford was the starting quarterback for the Rams in that game. And he was that bad, and he got hurt very quickly in the game, that they had to bring an injured Jared Goff, who'd got like a thumb injury, which meant he couldn't play. And the Rams battered the Seahawks. And I remember thinking on that, like, how have they blown this? Like, it didn't make any sense. Like, the Seahawks had a great opportunity that year to have a bit of a run, and they didn't take advantage of it. And you sort of think of those things, but this is a very different team. It's a very different coaching staff. There's a very different mentality. And I think the only thing with me is, like, everyone's a fan in a different way, aren't they? Like, some fans this week will be like quite bullish, and they'll stick the chests out and they'll talk about having no fear and fully expecting the Seahawks to win. And if the Seahawks do win, I'm sure they will come back afterwards and go, what were you all worried about? And they'll call me a wet lettuce, and they'll be absolutely right to do that, because I am. And they'd say all these things. Sort of my view as a fan is like, when my teams have got into these situations where you can see the little glint of light that's like the trophy that's shining in the distance, and you think it's so close now, is to make sure that you finish it. And like, when I think of England blowing the Euros against Italy, like, it was so close, and yet so close to a moment of like an unforgettable moment in your life that you never forget. And it was snatched away. And I was miserable as anything for like 3 weeks after that. You think of the last Super Bowl, the Seahawks, really, like, you're that close to winning it. And instead the team implodes, everyone falls out. everyone thinks that Pete Carroll was trying to mastermind Russell Wilson to be the MVP. I mean, all that conspiracy theory nonsense. And you have to see that bloody replay 1,000 million times on Sky over the weekend. And I tell you what, get ready, because if the Seahawks end up playing the Patriots in the Super Bowl, you are going to see that play like more than you will ever want to. It's just going to be relentlessly replayed. So the point I'm getting at here is that my style of fandom is to just be worried about not capitalizing. And this is such a massive opportunity now. We have a great team. You are going to play the Patriots or the Jarrett Stidham-led Broncos in the Super Bowl. You wouldn't be guaranteed to win that game, but you'd have bloody taken that a few months ago, presented with it. And the one thing you have to do is win a home game against the Rams, a tough opponent. I don't care how you do it. Like, it can be the worst game of football we've ever seen. I don't care. It can be 1 point or it can be 35 points again. Just find a way. That's all I want. Just find a way to get it done. Please, somehow.
Do you find the thing that with being an English sports fan and an ex-sportsman, and obviously supporting teams like the Seahawks, I have this psychological scarring where I've said it before. It's like I've been hurt too many times to get my hopes up. I try and stay on that level where I'm like, we could win, but we could lose. So I'm going to mentally prepare myself for absolutely everything. And I don't want to be that negative Nelly, but like I said, I've been hurt too many times where I have to mentally prep myself. So if it does happen, I don't assume the fetal position and cry in the corner of my living room. And I think that's kind of where my brain is constantly at. And I don't think it should be. Like, with the way this team is, like I said, we're number one DVOA team and our defense is elite. The offense is starting to pick up speed. You know, Ken Walker has come into his own as an RB1. And Ken Walker's someone who I've picked the bones of this year because he's not been effective. But then we saw him on Saturday and he looked like the Ken Walker everyone was raving about. Season 1 Ken Walker. But I think it's just, I still stand very warily, knowing those facts, and they are facts. But I still know what sport's like, that you can rip defeat from the jaws of victory.
Well, I think, again, we're all kind of different, aren't we? And if you, for example, if you were a Seahawks fan in Manchester and you happen to be a Man City fan, for example, you'll have probably had a lot of success, you know, recent successes in your fandom. And therefore, you'll probably be able to sort of part everything that, you know, the good and the bad, and you know, the rough with the smooth and stuff like that. But as someone who's from Rotherham, and has worked on a patch with 6 local football teams that none of them have ever had any real sustained success at all. And I don't, you know, as a journalist, I don't have, as much as the fans around here constantly tell me that I either love or hate this, that team or whatever, you know, I don't. I just cover the teams because that's the job you've got to do. So that means I push everything into the Seahawks and to England. And England have only ever given me hope and then crushing disappointment. And I don't handle it well. Like, I did not handle England losing to Italy well at all. Like, we went on holiday to Norfolk straight after that game with my wife's family, my in-laws. And I don't think I spoke for like 3 days. Like, I for 2 weeks, I was in this foul mood where I just couldn't stop thinking about what they should have won that tournament. And then I went to Germany in 2024 for the final, and then they lost again. And I can just remember thinking, why can't they just win one of these things? And then with the Seahawks, they've had success. We've seen them win a Super Bowl. We should be grateful for that. I know I've got NFL fans who live in this country who follow really bad teams, and they've never won the Super Bowl, and they may never win the Super Bowl ever. So when you think about that, you think, well, I'm glad we saw them win it once, you know. But we got to enjoy it for 12 months. And then it was as if the sporting god said, yeah, you've had your fun now, lads. Like, now you have to experience the most horrible loss ever, so that I never really watch back the Denver Super Bowl because I kind of know what happens next. Yeah. And if they'd have just won that thing and then they'd kind of tailed off or whatever, you'd kind of still go, well, we had that Super Bowl. It was amazing. But instead, you kind of we should have had two. Like that team, when you sort of see Russ and the LOB and they're doing so well against Denver, you think, yeah, but they all fell out with each other after that. And it crumbled somewhat. And it's like, it just wouldn't let us have any fun. And like, if they were to win this Super Bowl, I feel like it'd be ours, really. Like, no one could take that away. Like, I feel like, do you know what? We're stronger now. We've lived through the pain of that last Super Bowl, and we've won another one, and we can just enjoy it. You know, we can have sort of 3, 4, 5, 6 months before England disappoints at the World Cup. So that's how I'm sort of viewing it.
I'm a Blackburn Rovers fan, so imagine my high highs and then the low. I was on a lads' holiday in Tenerife when we got relegated, so you can imagine that was sort of midway through the week. It was going really well, then that happened, and I did the exact same. Literally finished at a karaoke bar, and my holiday just plummeted after that. Anyway, enough about English football, soccer, and the highs and lows of it. So let's just go over this. I know a lot of people have gone over this very to death, but that win was, in my opinion, predicated mainly on the all three phases. The special teams kicked it straight off. Defense was just, they couldn't do anything against us. You had people like Ricky Pearsall who did they have no catches, one catch, and it went for nothing.
Yeah, do you mean Jerry Rice?
Yeah.
I mean, like, anyone would have thought that he was Jerry Rice the way he was talked about last week.
He had no receptions, no yards, and same as Kendrick Bourne. Absolutely ridiculous. But for us on the offense as well, we finally saw the run game come to life. And that run game coming to life opened up absolutely everything. Out of obviously, there's some very low-hanging fruit to pick here. But which players impressed you the most in that performance?
Who impressed me the most? I think I would say Ken Walker. I thought that was Ken Walker's best ever game for the Seahawks. The thing is that he obviously was affected by what that clown wearing number 2 said, because he called him a cone head. I don't know why. If you're bald, your head doesn't suddenly turn into a cone. Like you've got a bald head. Like
worst insult ever.
And his head, Ken's head is very round. Like
and his celebration for the first one was
he did it every time. And Sam Darnold was doing it as well. I was thinking, what's this? Are they saying King Ken? Is that his name now? Like, is it a crown? Because I thought he's putting a crown on, but then he was, oh no, it's the cone head. And Sam Darnold was doing it as well. He was going like laughing and doing that. So I don't understand it, because like I say, he has a very round head, so there's no cone like to that head, but it clearly inspired him, because he had the bit between his teeth in that game, and as soon as he scored, he was doing it. He was sending a message to Lenoir. I just hope he can channel some of that next week, like, because number 2 isn't playing for the Rams, so maybe play as if he is, because if he does, we're going to need him as well, because there's no Zach Charbonnet for this game. So yeah, I think Ken was the main one for me, I would say. But Ernest Jones, Leo, DeMarcus Lawrence, who's now one of my top 5 favorite ever Seahawks.
Can we just talk about DeMarcus Lawrence? Like that this was a man, and we covered it in one of our previous pods, and I was quite effusive when we signed him about the fact that he's still a great player. He's just been hindered by injuries. He was jettisoned by the Cowboys for being too old, and I said this on the last pod, because Jerry Jones knows fantastic edge rushers and how to keep them, as is proven. He's come here, and he has had, in my opinion, Big Cat was the first piece of that jigsaw on that D-line as an elite talent. And then you add in someone like DeMarcus Lawrence, who has just elevated that D-line. And it's so much for an offensive line to comprehend going up against now, with him on the edge, also being able to get through and give the pressure and the run stuffs. I think he's possibly one of, if not the greatest free agent signings the Seahawks have ever made. Just pure transformative player.
I completely agree. I mean, I love everything about him. Like, for me, it's kind of like that alpha energy that he has. You know, like I think you need players like that in the game of football where you have to stand up and win in the trenches. That's where the games is. It is rhetoric. It's a cliche of games being won in the trenches. But typically, if you are significantly better than the other team in the trenches, you will win the game. And you need some of those guys. Jerry Brewer wrote a piece for The Athletic yesterday and said that all of the Seahawks defenders have got crazy eyes. And I can remember, I think Davis Hugh, who used to be quite prominent on Twitter during the LOB days, we used to say that there was, you know, the Cams, the Marshawns, the Richards, the Earls, they had crazy eyes, and that is it's not an insult. It's a compliment for like the NFL players. Like when you're like looking across at the defense and you can see those guys. And there was a game against Carolina a few weeks ago, and they're all in the tunnel, and DeMarcus Lawrence is like, whoa, 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 whoa. And he's barking like a dog. And I just love all that stuff. And, you know, like, there's a reason why Marshawn's on the wall behind me and Cam's just down there, because they're the players that I like to watch. You know, I like a physical brand of football, and DeMarcus Lawrence is the exact personification of that. And I don't think you're here without him. Like, I genuinely don't think you are here. It's not about having, he's not Max Crosby. He's not Myles Garrett. He's not Nick Bosa. He's a 6 to 8 sack guy at this stage in his career, but defends the run better than anybody else probably at his position this year, other than maybe Max Crosby. And has just brought this intense physicality to Seattle. And yes, he is one of the best free agent signings, and I freaking love watching him play for the Seahawks. And I am desperate to see that guy. No disrespect to Devon's, like, needs to be careful here, because there's room for a picture.
He's going to get relegated.
There's a room for DeMarcus Lawrence holding a Lombardi trophy right there in the middle of Marshawn and Cam.
What a picture that'd be.
Yeah, I'm just saying. He better intercept Matt Stafford in the next game.
I wanted to ask one question, Rob. From all your content, I always seem to catch a bit of love for John Schneider and the job he's done this year. You know, you always find a way to bring it back. You know, the decisions replacing DK and the decisions replacing Geno, the free agency stuff, the mid-season trade for Shaheed. You know, there's so much, and we've just been talking about the free agent pickup with DeMarcus Lawrence. But this is going to seem like a funny thing to say, but how good was the decision of Mike McDonald at the beginning of the season to remove the Legion of Boom stuff in the VMAC and invite this defense to carve out their own identity? Because it seems to have correlated massively with just the kick on with the defense and their identity and the character. What do you think?
I think it's an unbelievable point, actually, Mitch, because it's not something I've heard anybody else bring up in the last few weeks. And it is, and now that you've mentioned it, it does resonate quite a lot with us, that, because I think there was it was something that hung around Seattle a bit too much. It's tough because you don't want to kind of kick your history, your recent history into touch. You want to be very respectful of that. But you also have to move on. And the part of the problem with the Carroll era was that even in the last season that Carroll was here, he was still, let's bring back Bobby Wagner, you know, let's bring back Bruce Irvin. Luke Wilson was still coming back at the end. It felt as if they were constantly, like, Marshawn came back for a little spell, didn't he, in 2019? It always felt a little bit like we couldn't escape that. And then you'd have like Michael Bennett and Mike Robb on the broadcast, and then Sherman suddenly, like, in 1 minute he'd be slamming everybody from John Schneider to everybody. The next minute he's on the practice field and everyone's best buds again. Like, and he just couldn't escape all of that stuff. And when the stuff was removed, I remember thinking, I couldn't care less. But everybody else, well, not everybody else, there were a lot of people on Twitter who were like, ooh, that's a story. And like everyone was asking about it. And like Mike McDonald's getting asked about it. And I'm thinking, yeah, but it's a new era now. Like, you can't forever live in the shadow of that. they have created a personality and an identity, and I, they've given themselves a nickname now, and it seems to be attaching, seeing as the team's doing well. I think there is something to do with that. I think that was probably one of the most significant things that has happened in the last 2 years, is saying it's not a disrespect thing, but it's time for something different. And this is a very different cast of characters, isn't it? It's not, there's no real like proper holdovers from the significant Carroll years.
Mm-hmm.
All of the main players have either arrived in the last 2 years, or they were only kind of like, they were drafted when Carroll was here, but they've had their best play since he's gone. So yeah, I think you've actually made the most pertinent thing I've heard probably in the last couple of weeks. So well done. That's amazing. It's a great point. It's a great point. And if anybody else brings that up over the next week, I will make sure that I give you a shout out for being the first to bring that to the table.
If not, feel free to shout it out as well. Anyway,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's. I don't think it can be understated the influence that Mike McDonald's now had on this team, from his locker room speeches to the personnel he's brought in to the mindset he's got everyone sort of bought into, which we all thought, and you mentioned Twitter, and I mentioned Seahawks toxic Twitter quite a lot. When Carroll was jettisoned, there was so much said about it, so much. And I, as a sports coach, went, it's time. The game moves past people. And I think the proof is now in the pudding that it moved past Carroll. Look at what happened with the Raiders and him trying to, assemble the same cast that he had at the end of his Seahawks tenure. And look at what Mike McDonald's done now with this team and with how we're playing, the fact that we are playing some foot to the throat football. Because I will hold this to this day. If that game started under the Pete Carroll era, the way it did, Pete Carroll would have sat back, would have absorbed so much that it would have been bend, but probably break in the end, because we wouldn't have just gone for it. We wouldn't have been that aggressive. And I think that is a statement to be said for Mike McDonald.
Can I just say on that? Because
yeah.
Carroll's favourite thing was, can you win a game in the first quarter, second quarter? And
Yes.
Mike McDonald has actually won many games before the fourth quarter this season. Like, there have been multiple games where the game was done long before. There was no need for the fourth quarter. And I think with Pete Carroll, often this kind of like, you can only win a game in the fourth quarter, kept things tight. And I have thought, I don't know if you guys have thought that. What would Mike McDonald have done with the Legion of Boom? Like, they were the best team in the league by a mile. Like, they'd have destroyed everybody. And yet they lost to the Rams led by Austin Davis. Like,
I can tell you, if Mike McDonald had the LOB in their prime, this would have been a dynasty a la the New England Patriots.
Can I say, I don't want to take that. Whenever this comes up, I feel like I have to say something on it. I understand that a lot of people probably think I talk a load of old rubbish as well. So I get that. It's part of the course.
Are you implying that we do as well?
No, I get it. Like,
we do.
I have no issue if people are not everyone's going to like you in life. So I understand that, and I've fully embraced that over the years in the Seahawks sphere and in my BBC Sheffield sphere. But what I would say is that there are a lot of people on social media and in the media or on Seahawks Twitter who do not realize that they come across like they think they know everything so much. And the criticism that the Seahawks got for moving on from Geno Smith and Pete Carroll, and the sort of almost flirting with leaving the Seahawks to go and follow the Raiders in March, those people have not, in my opinion, had the mea culpa that I am still waiting for them to have. I have been on streams where people have said, I am going to bring up every single week what's happening in Las Vegas. And they've not mentioned it since week one, because they beat the Patriots and everything was amazing, and Seattle lost to the Niners. I was at that game, and I was with Robbie, who I stream with, and we were leaving the stadium, and there was a guy yelling at the top of his voice to everybody, I told you, they should never have traded Geno. They've made a huge mistake.
Donald Trump.
No, they've done it. I should have. I told you. And we were like, oh my word. I was like, I'm not going to say anything. But those people, they were so sure that the Seahawks had got this wrong. And they were so convinced that Geno's a top 10 quarterback, and Ben Solak writing that it took all of the power and energy that he had not to rank the Raiders coaching staff in the top 5. Like, they've got the number 1 overall pick. Like, clearly, it's time to accept that the Seahawks got this completely right. Mm-hmm. Jody Allen, Burt Cold, John Schneider, Mike McDonald, his staff, these players. My word, have they proved the doubters wrong. And as somebody who thought they'd have a great season this year, and having to listen to a lot of people say they thought they were going to crash and burn or be average or win 9 games, it's actually made it all the more enjoyable to witness the Seahawks be this good and the Raiders be that bad.
It's like being good out of spite.
And I am a child for saying those things, and I accept it. But I'm
all aboard it.
I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I mean, you mentioned it as well on your stream just before this. The injury to Zach Charbonnet, I think, it's a meaningful one. We were lucky that K9 sort of come along, but it means if I'm just going to look ahead to next season before we look at the championship game, it means next season we could end up having a backfield if K9 resigns. Or has he earned himself an absolute bag with the performance he's just had and whatever he does for the rest of these playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl? Possibly Kenny McIntosh when he comes back fit, George Halani, Cam Akers may come back, Velus Jones, because as you said and Mitch has said as well, there aren't any real running backs in this draft. What is your your take on that one?
Well, I always think when you're kind of like trying to analyze what's going to happen, you've got to kind of listen to the right people. So one of the right people, in my opinion, is Brady Henderson at ESPN. He is very well connected with the Seahawks. And when he says things, I think you have to listen. And he has pretty consistently seemed to suggest that it feels somewhat unlikely that Ken Walker would be re-signing. And I don't know if that's a philosophy thing from the Seahawks point of view. Like, we're happy to draft running backs early and have them on a cheap contract, but we don't want to pay them $12 million a year. If Ken Walker plays the way that he did on Saturday, next Sunday and the Seahawks win and they win the Super Bowl and he's, let's say, the MVP, he's probably going to get a contract the same as James Cook's contract. So, you know, are you wanting to pay him $12 million a year over 4 years or more? Like, those are the kind of questions you've got to ask when you are also next year going to have to pay you're going to have to pay Rashid Shaheed because they're going to keep him. Brady has suggested they're going to pay Jackson Smith-Njigba and Devin Witherspoon at some point next year. That'll probably be in the summer. And then you've got Derek Hall has got 1 year left in his contract. They love Derek Hall, so the chances are that they will try to extend him. And you've got Kobe Bryant, who they've already tried to extend. Like, you can't just keep paying everybody. Like, when you sign somebody and you guarantee them money, that money has to go in escrow. So whilst Seahawks got a lot of cap space, you don't have a bottomless pit of money that can just be spent right here, right now on guaranteed contracts. So something has to give. Like, somebody has to move on. And equally, if you're going to say, well, maybe Ken Walker's, you then start to wonder, well, does Tariq Woolen, like, what do you do there? Like, you're kind of going through there's a large number of players now that you're having to think, what are you going to do with? So I don't know what's going to happen with Ken Walker. I think right now, I want him to put Seattle in the worst possible bind by just having the 2 best games of his career coming up next, so that you have to wonder whether you have to pay him. But I think if he moves on, you then have to look at the trade market. You know, I am just such a fan of Devin Achane, and the Dolphins were open-minded about trading that guy. If they still are, they've just appointed a new coach today. I don't know what his mindset will be, but if they want to build stock and rebuild that team, they might be open-minded about that. He's somebody they could look at. There's 1 or 2 veteran free agents. You could look at other people that you might be able to trade for. And look, the running backs in the draft they're not very good. Like, there's players that I like, but I don't see them as players who are necessarily going to lead your running attack in the NFL, like Emmett Johnson, Mike Washington Jr. But, you know, at some point, let's say a Jadarian Price or a Katron Allen or somebody like that might be of a value pick to you. So you've got to kind of look at it and see what's out there. But if one of the worst things we have to do in the offseason is wonder what they're going to do at running back whilst we toast the City celebrations, I'm down for that.
First world problems, right?
Exactly. Yes. Well, all these other teams, like the Dolphins, like, what are we going to do with Tua's contract? And who are we going to have as our head coach? And we're like, what are we going to do at running back? Like, it's that'd be amazing if they can win the Super Bowl, of course.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mitch, you had a running back in mind, not for this draft, but the next, didn't you?
I do. I think there is assuming we still have Kubiak in 2027, which is increasingly less likely.
Can I guess the player?
Yeah.
It's not the Ole Miss running back, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay.
To be fair, he's currently ranked as RB15 in 2027, so it's a bit of a reach.
Okay.
But when you watch him play, it's the Oregon running back, Mekhi Hughes, who is a bowling ball, but has that home run hitting ability as well. And I know it's such a homer thing to say, but if you were combining Ken and Charbonnet and trying to get someone who has a bit more sort of home run hitting power, but can also run between the tackles really effectively and doesn't go down when taking first contact, he's your guy. I just think the value you'd get and the scheme fit you'd get, I'd have one eye on Mekhi Hughes as a great fit.
I will check him out. While we're on it, I'll just very quickly. I think Mark Fletcher at Miami looked really powerful, strong. K'Wan Lacey at Ole Miss is just freaking awesome, man. And I'm interested to see what Raleigh Brown does. He's transferred to Texas from Arizona State, so we'll see what he does.
There's plenty of interest there. I think scheme fit will get all the way through. Actual starting quality, sort of starting caliber players. If you're finding a replacement for Ken, that's where you struggle. So I think you're right about free agency or trade being the route. But we're going to be a really hot destination for teams.
We are. I genuinely believe that now. Like, especially defenders. Like, why would you not want to play for Mike McDonald?
Sorry, I said teams. I meant players. I just think free agency is going to be so interesting because we're not going to need to offer as much money as other teams as a strong contender with a great, solid defensive scheme. I think players will clamour to get to the Northwest for once with what we've put on show this year, and that is really refreshing. Because before we had to be the highest bidder. You look at free agency recently, we weren't popular. We needed to pay over the odds to get players, and now people are going to be queuing up, I think.
Agreed. Well, I want to get to some hyperbole.
No.
I want to look ahead to the NFC Divisional Championship against our division rivals, our conference rivals, the LA Rams. Now, I was listening to your pod earlier, and Rob, I share the exact same sentiment as you, that whilst you're going to play a good team regardless, if it came down to the Rams or the Bears, I would have preferred to have taken our chances with the Bears. The Rams, much like pre the 49ers game, I have that thing in the back of my head, which it fills me with a little bit more worry playing that team. And it's not just the fact that they've got a great D-line. Sean McVay is a great coach. Matt Stafford is a seasoned professional quarterback. Puka Nacua is, I think you said, was it by PFF's metrics, the best player in the league.
That's what they said. He's played the best this year. Yeah.
You know, they're always tough games. And I just want to sort of look ahead to that. I mean, with the fear I have, I'm looking at you now, Rob, to try and quell that fear, make me feel a bit better. And anyone else that's watching, what would you see as keys to victory?
Well, when I was doing my stream earlier, I feel like I needed to sort of just voice all of my concerns to get it off my chest. And now I mean this, I feel a lot better now. Like having said what I needed to say, I actually feel a lot more positive about it, about the game. And it's funny how your mind sort of tricks you that way. I went into that stream thinking I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. And now I've kind of said it. I do feel genuinely a bit better about it. I think the best thing the best chance Seattle has is to play a clean game, a game of football. Because as I mentioned on the stream, you look at I'm going to ignore the win at the end of last season because that was against mostly the Rams backups that they won on the final game. But you think of the game in Seattle last season, Geno turning the ball over, big play downfield in overtime, mistakes cost you a chance they threw away that game. They should have won the game. They didn't win the game. They threw it away. And then this season, they threw away the first game. And that was four interceptions from the quarterback. If he threw 3 interceptions, you probably win that game of football. That's how crazy it was. And then you look at the most recent game in week 16, Darnold again had 2 interceptions. You were again giving up big plays downfield to Puka Nacua in overtime. You've created problems for yourself. If the Seahawks can avoid doing that this time, just don't turn the ball over. Accept that Matt Stafford is going to make some plays, that Puka Nacua is going to make some catches, that Sean McVay is going to score some touchdowns on offense. Accept that those things are inevitable. You're playing a good football team. But if you can avoid the back-breaking errors, Seattle has a better special teams unit by an absolute mile. And Seattle's main strength, their defense, matches up against LA's biggest strength, their offense. The other matchup, your offense against their defense, I think there's opportunities there for you. So if you play clean, that offense versus Rams defense matchup plus your special teams advantage, for me, should win you the game. Whether it's by a field goal, a point, 10 points, whatever it is, that should be enough. So my hope for this is, I'm not suggesting that they just punt every time and play the most conservative game of football ever. But you just play the percentages. It's not exciting. It's not what the cool kids want you to do on social media. But I think if you just play the percentages and avoid massive backbreaking errors, they'll be okay.
It's that Fast and the Furious quote, isn't it? Doesn't matter if it's whether by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
Just win.
That's it. I'm very much in the same sort of vein with you as that. Mitch, do you have any keys to victory? What would you think?
I have the main key to victory. I have the key to victory.
Can you tell Mike McDonald? No.
I can. It's the 12s.
Oh, good.
Genuinely think this will be the loudest Lumen has been in many, many years. And we saw them back, tipping the Richter scale with the return, first play of the game against the 49ers. I think the 12s turning it up on game day, getting loud, getting raucous, bringing the energy. I think this fan base have everything to be excited about. 2 huge playoff games against the 49ers and the Rams at Lumen. You cannot ask for more. And the prize that they're screaming for is to win a Lombardi trophy in Santa Clara, the home of the team that have been on the precipice of winning a Super Bowl for years and narrowly missing out. You get to just waltz in and do it on their turf. Get loud. That's the key to victory.
That would be pretty special, that wouldn't it? To win it in Santa Clara. And I suppose that's the one positive about the Bears not winning, is because the Chicago Bears fans have been so starved of any kind of success over the years that you better believe they would have snapped up a load of tickets and would have filled probably their quota of fans in the stadium. They would probably have taken even more than San Francisco had taken last weekend. And now you've got the Rams, and that just they don't have a big fan base, and they're not going to flood Lumen Field, and it's going to be 95%, if not more, Seahawks fans. And I'd love someone in that franchise, in that organization, please just spend the next 5 days thinking of ways to get that crowd going. Like just anything you can do to just try everything. I thought the pre-game stuff was very good. I'm a bit of a sad act, so like I went to watch a rugby game yesterday, and then I got home and I was kind of watching the Seahawks videos, and I found one of the pre-game stuff that someone had, like a travel company who go to these stadiums, like had put this, like, here's the introductions, and it was, I thought, like, so fantastic. and I know this is a controversial take for some people because they want to see the owner do the 12-man flag, and I understand that. And if Jody Allen is up there, I'm not gonna waste any energy complaining about it. Like, I'm not bothered. But for me, Paul Allen doing that was because Paul Allen kept the team in Seattle. Like, it almost like this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for this man. With the greatest respect to Jody, she's inherited the team from her brother's sad passing. Like, maybe she's there to sort of embody everything that Paul Allen was, and that's why she would still do it. But she's different. She's not the one who saved the team. And I think in an instant like this, Jody will get a great reception. Marshawn Lynch would get a much bigger reception.
Oh.
Like, if you had Marshawn Lynch up there going crazy like that, you wouldn't need a beast quake to get the earthquake.
It'd happen there.
It would happen with him there, and just the thought of like him getting everyone going and the Seahawks defense coming out first. That would be unbelievable to me. Like, I'd be shouting at home. The neighbors would be terrified, thinking something's happening next door. It would get me going 5,000 miles away. So I want to see Marshawn. I don't know if Marshawn wants to do it. Like, he's Doug Baldwin's done it twice now. So like, I don't know if there's certain players who just don't fancy it. Like, it's not their thing. But God, Marshawn, get
Just
up there,
imagine.
man. If you will go around a hotel and go up to 49ers fans and go, "Are you a 49ers fan?" If you he's that much of a Seahawks fan at this point. Get up on them stairs. Get up that bloody staircase. And go and get that flag in the air, man, because that will just take the roof off if he does it.
That'd be absolutely superb. Oh, God, I'd love to see that. I mean, the one thing, obviously, you went to, was it Saints Scarlets, wasn't it? You went to watch?
Yes.
Underwhelming rugby introductions are something that I'm very accustomed to, especially when you go and watch the NFL and you go, if we had some of that pageantry in rugby, imagine the eyes it'd get. But anyway, let's not divert to that because I'll talk about that for ages. My key to success is I want this running game to keep ticking. I want us to really master the clock. I want us to have so much time in possession that we don't give Stafford enough of a chance to get a rhythm, that he has to resort to these long balls against our corners. I want us to just play these short and intermediate passes, use Cooper Kupp out of the slot as much as you like. I don't really care. If Jake Bobo has to catch another 2 passes and they're only for first downs, I am happy with that.
Forgot he was on the roster.
Honestly, it's from the hype of last year of more Bobo to this year and him making his first, I thought that was his second catch, but it must have been a preseason catch, his first regular season catch, and he's a fantastic run blocker. Everyone loves him, but I think he's one of those where he may not be on the roster next year unless they want to keep him around for that run blocking. That's what I want to see. I want to see us take the ball out of Stafford's hands and then let our defense just smother him whenever he's got it. That is what I want to see. That's what I wanted to see all season. And with that, before we sign off, give us 2 players that you want to see big games from, Rob.
Sam Darnold. And that doesn't mean he has to throw for 350 yards. A big game from Sam Darnold is not turning the ball over and making the plays you've got to make. And he's done that very well in some big moments now. Like he's done it in the 2 games against the Niners. He did not turn the ball over. It's very easy to say, well, they scored 13 points against the Niners in week 18. Well, he made some big time throws in that game. And that was really important. And when you think back to the Rams game last time, he was, that final drive, that was just surgical, really, what he did there. That's as good a drive as you will see. That was Mahomes-esque at the end of the Super Bowl when they beat the Niners last time. The way that he just marched down the field and then to get the 2-point conversion as well. Like, that doesn't really tend to happen. Yeah,
Ice in the veins.
I had assumed they'd lost that game. Like, as soon as Puka Nacua, I was like, and even when they scored the touchdown, I was like, this is like the 3rd 2-point conversion in a row. This is not happening. And then it did, and it was like the best thing ever. So he is. For me, it's on him probably more than anything. Not because he has to outscore Matt Stafford or anything. He just has to do his job, and I have faith in him. And I think it's stating the obvious that in the NFC Championship Game, your quarterback needs to play well. Yeah. So I'm going to say him. And then the other thing I would suggest is you've got to impact the other quarterback. Like, you have got to find a way to force Matt Stafford into mistakes. You've got to hit him. You've got to make his life uncomfortable. You have got to get him out of his comfort zone. So Leonard Williams is the one player we have who can be a game wrecker. Like, he's got he's the former top 10 pick who has still got that sort of physical athleticism to make those big plays. I am convinced he's going to be amped for this game. Like, he's one of those people who just, like, over my dead body, are we not winning today? Yeah. And if you noticed in the last game against the Rams, the defense stunk for like 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden, he started making plays. And it was as if everybody was like, come on. Like, we've got this now. Like, get back on track. So they're my main 2. I think they're the main 2. But I really don't care who the main 2 are. Like, it can be Jake Bobo with an improbable 120-yard performance. If it is, let's get together and all have a good laugh that we predicted that here. Somebody have a big game and win this game. Somebody just, I don't care who it is. If you are listening to this, make a play. Like, do something to help the team win. I just want to win. I don't care. It can be the most stressful 4 quarters or the least stressful 4. I don't care. I want to spend 2 weeks streaming about the Super Bowl. Like, I'm ready to book a week off to sit and watch everything on Super Bowl week. I've got the leave stashed, ready and waiting, but I am not booking it until they're there because I am not tempting fate. So let's get it done this weekend.
I like it. I love it. Well, I'm very appreciative of your time, Rob, because I know you have been busy, and as you were saying on your pod earlier, you're not feeling great. So thank you so much. I feel your pain. I've not caught up from Saturday. I had like a 4-hour nap yesterday because my wife was like, you need to sleep. And I'm still tired today. Do you want to tell everyone, most people that are watching this probably subscribe to you, but tell them what you've got coming up, where to find you.
So tomorrow I will be with Bump and Stacy. So if you're in Seattle, that is 12 noon on the radio. And then I will post the YouTube video on SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Seahawks Collective, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 1 a.m. England time. So watch that Wednesday. Watch that Wednesday morning, yeah. And then Puck Sports in a more agreeable time of about 6:30, which is live, and then I'll post the video of that. And then I don't know, like I might do a bit of streaming later in the week with Adam and Robbie, and I might. Yeah, I've got so many things to write about, but a lot of it is draft stuff and off-season stuff, and I kind of feel like I'll just keep my powder dry on that for a little while longer, just because there's like there could be an abrupt finish to the season on Sunday. People might want some distracting articles next week, but at the same time, if they win, then I'll probably stick some of that stuff out next week as a little filler in between there. Can we just please win this game?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's going back to what we were talking about earlier. I feel like for the amount of energy I have invested in sports fandom in my 41 years on this earth, I have not got when you like, if you had like a Sky Bet account and you like kept putting a $5 on like a little accumulator, you'd feel like, you know what, I'm probably going to win 20% of the time and I might just about break even. I don't feel like I broke even yet from my commitment to being a fan of sports. So, a couple of good things happening this year would just about maybe tip the balances to that. So can we just like get back to the Super Bowl, please, and have a chance of winning this?
I pin all of my sporting hopes on the Seahawks because in my 41 years, I've seen a team win a premiership and then get relegated. I've seen the Seahawks win a Super Bowl and then we don't talk about the next one. I've seen my rugby team Wasps go from European glory to being no longer. And then England we'll wait and see with that one. But I mean, again, just thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for jumping in the comments, everyone, as well. If you are new to this channel, you can like and subscribe. It really helps us. We're the UK Seahawkers official podcast. I am not sure, Mitch and I will work out. We're going to be on Across the Pod with Andy Davis this week. And then The Huddle as well is coming up. The Huddle UK. You can find them all on X and all the other social media platforms, as you can with us at 12 Talk Pod on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that type of stuff. And I am so pumped for what could happen this weekend.
Well, we all deserve this. We're the ones who stay up till bloody 1 o'clock in the morning to watch these things. So we go to bed at like 5, 6 in the morning. So I feel like we deserve this. So football, can the footballing gods just give us
just smile down.
Throw us a freaking bone this week. Like, come on, give us something.
Dude, it'd be awesome. And I'm doing dry January, so it was so nice to have my first drink for a month during the Super Bowl. So
I can remember, when England got to the final against Italy, I don't even like champagne. I'm not a big drinker, so but I bought it and I said, I am going to drink the whole bloody thing. So and I'm going to run to the pub and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to go mad. And then I didn't get to do it. The champagne was never drunk. So maybe I can go and find that wherever it is now.
Just that off. Get it in the fridge now.
Yeah, I almost don't want to put it in the fridge in case that's the jinx. So I'll just kind of leave it warm and then just go, sod it.
I was going to say, warm champagne, just as everyone intended for it to be drunk on a park bench in France.
If you didn't like it cold, Rob, you're not going to like it warm.
I'm not. I don't like champagne. I don't know. I just felt like I'm going to do something crazy. So, let's just channel our energies into. I'm not religious. I'm not. I'm not really that superstitious, as surprising as that might sound, or anything like that. And yet here I am. I'm praying to gods and calling on us to put our collective energy into this to win a Super Bowl. What am I doing?
I'm the same. I don't do those sending positive vibes, but I am trying to send all my good vibes, if they do appear, like they are a thing, over to Seattle to our boys. Yeah, with that, I'm just going to say another thank you. It's been absolutely amazing having you on again. We'll have to try get you on sort of pre-draft so you and Mitch can do some draft nerding, and I'll sit here taking notes because that's kind of what I usually do with that.
The best kind of nerding.
Yeah. That's subjective. But yeah, thank you to Rob. Thank you to all of you for joining in. We've been the 12 Talk podcast. That over there is Mitch. My name's Josh. And I just want to say a massive go Hawks. Let's just hope and pray to whatever deity you pray to that this NFC Championship goes our way and we can get into the big dance. Until next time, turn up to 12 and go Hawks.